to go.
I joined on YouTube yesterday. I was watching Devoe, Stasi and
Baby.
yeah, Ujama.
And for the final time in the year 2025, Freshly Pressed is on your radios here on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's 31 minutes past 7 a.m. 31st day of December 2025. It's a hump of the week, Wednesday morning, and we are so blessed and privileged to be here. It's been quite a roller coaster from January all up until this particular time, and we are ready once again to do what we always do. Take a look at the news stories, get analysis, and of course, your thoughts, your contributions, your opinions. They mean the absolute world to us. Welcome once again into Freshly Pressed. This is Ayokunmi here, and looking forward to an interesting morning. It's always an interesting morning because in the news cycle, there's so many interesting things that tend to pop up. Today isn't any different whatsoever. Joining me to take a look at the news stories and give their analysis, break it all down and give perspective as well. Two of the finest gentlemen I definitely know, talking about Lakunle Yusuf and Devoe Okorie. Lakunle in studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning to all our listeners. Finally, 2025 closing, and this time tomorrow we'll be saying 2026, and hopefully this year being full of a lot of not so pleasant news items that we discussed on this table, and there have been some seemingly shining lights, yeah, and yeah, here and there. And the thing is, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep trying to ask the right questions, directing it at the right people, so that somehow we would not totally lose track of our dear country.
And that is very, very important. Devoe, good morning to you. Great to have you join us once again on the show.
Morning, world. Good morning, Lagos. Smooth. AY, Lakunle, the unionist in the house. Cool. 365 extra loading 2026.
365. It's going to be an interesting day. It's going to be an interesting 2026 because of certain incidents that are on the table this morning. And that is one thing we're going to be talking about right now. Speaking about the tax laws which are kicking into gear or kicking into effect from tomorrow, there's no going back on the January 1 tax law commencement, according to the president. And this is coming from the Punch. Now, President Tinubu on Tuesday said the implementation of the new tax laws, including those enacted on June 26, 2025, and the remaining acts scheduled to commence on January 1st, 2026, will take effect as planned. Now, in the statement that he personally signed, Tinubu said the reforms represent a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a fair, competitive, and robust fiscal foundation for the country. Despite all the calls to suspend the implementation, looking at the discrepancies and the controversy, the president has said, forward ever, backward never.
Yes, president has insisted, as they say, he has put his leg on the ground that the new reform should take place from tomorrow. However, Mr. President, might we use this opportunity to remind you that Nigeria, the Federal du Republique de Nigeria, is still a democracy, okay, and not a unitary system. Neither is it a one-party state. Neither is it a dictatorship. Neither is it a tyranny. Meaning, we the people have a say. Okay. Now there has been more or less mixed reactions, especially against the president's insistence because of the issues that have come out from this tax reform gazetting. And the president has said that no substantial issue should prevent it. Yes, I can agree with him that no substantial issue should prevent any implementation of law. But the point is, what is he referring to as no substantial issue? Because first and foremost, various senior advocates have spoken on this matter Some have said that since the House of Rep member Dalsuki from Kebbi raised this privilege that what was passed and what they gave to the presidency for assent have discrepancies. No one has been able to publish the difference for all of us to be able to confirm and say, yes, yes, this is what happened. Because clearly, if there's an alteration or a doctrine on any law that was passed by the legislator, it amounts to it's a criminal offense. And it's also an impeachable offense. Okay. Now, whilst the FG has said that there is no alteration, that the House should actually respond, the House has said that it would do a 7-day committee, which they were meant to have responded as of Friday. Now, some members, some senior advocates have said that, first of all, any law that is altered is no law. It is null and void. Okay. Another SAN did say that, oh, the committee should re-gazette what was passed so that we will all hear word and know what is real. But some have said that you cannot re-gazette a law. A law is a law. And that if that law must be changed, then you must go through the normal process of, first of all, getting the courts to halt the implementation and then passing it through the full legislative process again. That the National Assembly should go to courts. That whatever, even if what was altered was wrong, it is now the law. Another SAN has said, and that's in the presence of the NBA. The NBA has said that, first of all, it needs to be identified where this change came. Did it come in the fact? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, Devoe.
Yes. Did it come in the fact that what was sent to the House was illegal or was not the one that was passed? Sorry, what was sent to the presidency? Did it change in the fact that what left the presidency and was signed into law was changed? That process, if it was altered, means it has become illegal. Now, the minority caucus, okay, in the House of Reps has called that the implementation be suspended. Likewise, the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students, that's NANS, has also said that a law which its authenticity is being questioned cannot be implemented. Clearly, I think that's actually the most concrete position on this, because if it's still being debated at this point in time by so many, how can such law have credibility? How can you insist that it be implemented? And they've said that some of these laws might not work to the interest of Nigerian citizens. Therefore, the NLC also stepped up. That's the labor unions, by saying they are the biggest tax-paying body, and that if a law that we have all not agreed on is being passed, then it cannot hold water. So clearly, you can see there's a lot of pushback and even outright rejection about this insistence that the presidency has put his leg down on. Now, I want to see how this will work, because does it mean the tax authorities will go ahead despite the position of the Nigerian people? Okay. Does it mean that the president, who is not even in the country, will bring up police to now ensure that people take up the laws? Or what is going to happen? Very much think that the National Assembly that is on recess at this point in time, as usual, need to call for an extraordinary emergency session to address this matter. Now, the point is this: I can clearly tell you that obviously this law was altered, right? And in trying to protect the presidents, they have opted for an option to regazette, meaning, okay, let's publish what is correct. But the point is, the publishing of what is correct is an outright admission that something was doctored. That must not be swept under the carpet. I rest my case.
I just like to quickly say the thing about so the transparency and accountability part of the whole story.
Yeah.
Meaning that, like Devoe said, that if regazetting, as it were, is the option that we are pursuing rather than concluding on the investigation or the committee that was set up by the National Assembly to check whether this really happened, rather than wait for that, or go through the process of a review of an act and an update, or how do they call that thing, a repealing of the act, and so which will probably be a longer process. And then that means that it's a subtle admission of tampering with the law. And then, so okay, let's regazette. But then, who is responsible for that tampering?
I mean,
should we just let the person go and sin no more, or the person go and sin again?
It's not a minor issue. I don't think,
because at this level, it is nearly, it can almost be likened to treason. It's a treasonable felony. You single-handedly alter the law of a country that can affect the lives of 250 million people, and we're just sweeping it under the carpet.
We've swept too many things under the carpet. I know that we tend to start up probes and committees and whatever to find out things. So many of them have been set up over the years, and we never get to the end of it. But this particular issue, I mean, for someone, some people, I don't know whom, to have done something like this, we need to know who had the audacity.
It's historical in our nature to set up panels and probes. I remember,
like I said, so many have been set up.
I remember growing up and listening to Uncle Tuju Elano's song written by Professor Wole Soyinka. I love my country, I no go lie. Anybody who can find that song should just go and listen to that part where they said, Mr. Chairman, something, are you surprised? I will probe and probe and probe until we can probe no more. I think that we have assumed that thing, and it's become a national misnomer.
I mean, we all remember, Honorable Minister, we can't forget that. The Vanguard is what we're stepping into right now. Let us talk about security. Well, the state security outfit, codenamed Amotekun, has arrested 39 suspected terrorists who fled Sokoto State after the Christmas Day airstrikes carried out by the United States military in Nigeria's northwest. Parading 100 suspected criminals arrested across the state. The state commander of the security outfit, Chief Adetunji Adeleye, said that the 39 suspected bandits claimed that they fled from Sokoto State.
Now, how does one begin to agree, or believe these stories? Because so if they were running from Sokoto, then the next place they will run to is a forest in Ondo, to go and do what exactly, right? That's the first question that we need to. But this is what they have said. If this is what they have said, yes, let's take it on the face value that this is what it is. Right. I think that this also is one of the things that some of us who believe that policing should be a local affair is scoring a bigger point for us, that we should change our system of policing. Imagine that there is no Amotekun, for example, right? How would these 139 people have been arrested and made to make this confessional statement that they were coming from Sokoto? Now, I'll digress a little bit. Look at, if you recall, the bomb blast at the Maryland Army Barracks, now T.A. Lagbaja Cantonment, in many years ago.
Yeah, that was 2000.
And people, when the detonation started to happen, people who didn't hear the sound, those of us in Lagos that Sunday afternoon, many people ran without seeing what was chasing them, right? So we may not necessarily say that all these people are bandits, terrorists, jihadists, or whatever they are. They may just have reacted to how bad, how scary the sound of bombs going off could be. And all their impulses, let me just get as far as possible away from this place. So admitting that they were coming from Sokoto is not enough for us to profile and qualify them as jihadists or whatever. Having also said that, this also gives rise to the idea that we need to properly document ourselves. We have BVN, we have NIMC, we have phone numbers. There's so many identifying things that we have to identify ourselves. But is it properly documented? If somebody dies here today, can we tell, and the body is mangled, can we, by the dentition of the person, identify that person? I know that's possible. Can we do it in Nigeria today? If I pick up a severed finger of any random human being on the street, can I, by whether in the police station, in the hospital, anywhere, identify the owner of that severed finger that I picked up? So we need to start thinking of how to apply technology to document ourselves properly so that we can know where everybody is, who is where, what the person does for a living. And those are the, but guess what? It is our politicians that resist us being able to do this because, of course, the other things that they use our improper undocumentation to do. So when we're not able to do this, we will misprofile people in this instance. For example, we'll just put all of them under one blanket. And in saying that they will return them to wherever they came from, we are already going against a part of the Nigerian law that says every Nigerian has a right to live anywhere, lawfully, anywhere in Nigeria. They have only found them in the forest. They have not found them doing anything illegal. You cannot convict me in anticipation of committing a crime. You get what I mean? You cannot take me to court when you have not caught me committing a crime. You are only anticipating that I want to commit a crime. What is the law that says that I are going to use to try me in court
But
for that?
although them being in the forest and looking at reports that we had over time, it is suspicious them being there.
A suspicion. It is not still a crime. That is my understanding of it. That what then we need to be careful how we handle this matter.
Right.
Yeah, they're there. Are they there legally? Maybe yes, maybe no. If you're able to establish that they're there illegally, then there's an issue to be treated. Then can we return them to where they come from? That becomes another legal matter that we need to look at how we treat it. So we cannot just on the face value of we saw them in the forest, then put them under blankets and then say we are returning them.
Right. I hear you on that one. Luckily, so much definitely needs to happen and needs to be done in this particular case. All right, Devoe, we're stepping into the punch. Let's talk some numbers here. Well, 10 states in Nigeria are planning to source about 4.287 trillion naira from loans, bonds, grants, capital receipts, and public-private partnerships in order to finance the capital projects in their 2026 budgets. The states include Lagos, Abia, Ogun, Enugu, Osun, Delta, Sokoto, Edo, Bayelsa, and Gombe, as they presented budgets totaling 14.174 trillion naira to lawmakers. Devoe.
Yes, like you did say, I would have said this headline should be restated. 10 states plan um, to do pass themselves this 2026. And basically, this is referring to the delivery of governance. And these 10 states are showing some level of boldness and courage by actually raising money, attempting to raise money more than their usual their IGR and their FAC allocation combined. You have 10 states in the likes of Lagos, Abia, Ogun, Enugu, Osun, Delta, Sokoto, Edo, Bayelsa, and Gombe. Now, many of their budgets exceed a trillion naira, which is like a first time for many of them. If you take a small state like Abia, because Lagos was you already at 3 trillion, so going to 4.2 was not so far fetched. But the likes of Abia, which used to hover around 200, 400 billion, this time round, they are taking making a budget of about 1.1 trillion. Their FAC and internal generated revenue come up to about 600 billion, which means that they're going to borrow about 400 billion. Okay. Now, the question here is that why are they taking these larger than life budgets? Many of them are planning to direct a lot of that money to capital investments, which is usually where infrastructure lie. And you know the biggest deficit in the Nigerian economy and also living space is infrastructure.
Oh, yes.
Especially when you travel out and come back into the country, the first thing that hits you in the face is how deficit or how lacking that we are in terms of infrastructure. Infrastructure, you have like roads and bridges. Infrastructure, you're referring to trains, you're referring to um, uh, what do you call it, power systems. You're referring
Right.
to the telephony systems, all the things that make other countries worth the while. Now, the point here is this, that many have said that budget integrity, budget performance is the biggest issue here. Many state governments have not shown transparency, probity, and even a good history of paying back. Now, let me explain how bad it is. I hope you know that when the government, state government borrows, and most times they will borrow externally, okay, which come with some levels of sovereign guarantee.
Mm.
One, the federal government will be liable to pay back if they default. Two, whereas the federal government displaces the defaults, the creditor might be entitled to ownership of assets within the states if the person cannot pay back. Okay. So a lot is required at this point, not by the government, but by the people or the residents of these separate states to monitor, to check, to do some level of month by month surveillance,
Okay.
especially when they've heard that, oh, the money that they wanted to borrow has been granted, okay, because it will be made public. Um, Follow and monitor that your government delivers on these projects that they've claimed, because the truth is, it will affect you in the long run. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Because there's so many ways that the states can fall into deficit, and then at the end of the day, the people will be groaning with the next governments that we're trying to offset the debts that the predecessors. So Nigerian people, if your state government comes to tell you that they want to do past themselves, make sure you hold them with a cutlass and a, what do you call it,
Isn't isn't that a bit
shackles.
much?
No,
Isn't it got last
no,
bit much?
no, the point here is this. Once they've shown you proof of concept and then establishment of delivery, then you can let them go. We've never done this before. Maybe now with the new tax implementation, we will learn to monitor our government. As they say, don't watch and pray, watch and hold them accountable.
So,
Mm.
so to add context to this story, so Lagos State's budget, right, is 4.237 trillion. They can account for how they will find 3.12 trillion of that number. So they will be borrowing 1.117 trillion. That's like 30%, almost like 30% of the
25.
planned budget is what they are looking for, they are going to borrow. Okay, let's even bring it out to 24 to 25. That's a quarter, or that means for every 100 naira Lagos State government spends next year, 25 naira of it is borrowed
Mm.
from whatever source outside. Ogun State is doing um 20 26% borrowing to meet the budget of 1.669 trillion. So it means that that's like 30%. So that means that for every 100 naira Ogun State government is spending next year, 33 naira of it is borrowed money. Abia State is going to look for 40% of its planned 1.016 trillion naira budget. So it means that for every 100 naira that Abia State is spending next year, 40 naira of it is borrowed money. You can check the other states like that as it is in that report. It gives you us an idea of what and how, where the money is going to come from. And then that gives us, the people, the idea that, okay, if we are borrowing the money to do these things, should we just sleep in our homes and not bother? Let us ask the right questions. Let us challenge these things and let us make good use of these things that they use this money to do for us.
Right. That is extremely important. Also, fiscal discipline, fiscal responsibility. We can't stop shouting about that because it's one thing to borrow these monies, but you feel like, oh, there's money now, we can ball. You cannot ball. Use the money to do what's supposed to be done. It's as simple as. All right, let's talk very quickly some political matters here. The PDP are in in the news once again. The Daily Post is the paper of choice for this one. It says the People's Democratic Party has announced its intention to approach the courts following the exclusion of its governorship candidate, Dr. Oluwole Oluyede, from the list of candidates for the 2026 Ekiti State governorship election by INEC. This was contained in a statement issued on Tuesday and signed by the party's national publicity secretary, Imi Ememobong. Looking at what's going on with the PDP right now, Lakunle, I think as long as the PDP do not sort out their internal wranglings, we'll continue to have these sort of issues. If the foundation of the PDP is faulty, this will happen. Look at what happened in Osun State when Adebola Adeleke left the party, moved to the Accord Party. A lot of PDP governors have left, moved to the APC and so on and so forth. Now, in Ekiti, INEC have barred the PDP candidate from even being on the ballot at all. Where did they go from here?
As much as I'd like not to be involved in the internal wranglings of persons, it has to be said that, the Yoruba people will say that the house that you build or that you use the saliva to mold, it is the dew, the early morning dew, that will make the house to collapse. I wish I could say that in Yoruba. It's sweeter and more coherent when you say it in Yoruba, right? Let me just try. It says, Ileti afi tomo irinewu. What we are seeing is it's the outcome of coming together of strange bedfellows. No particular ideology brought all of them together, and they ran together for 16 years. And the moment that the thing that kept them together was no longer there, everybody went their respective ways. And this is what is playing out with the PDP. In my estimation, I would not have imagined that the PDP of 1999 or 2011 is the same one that we're seeing in all these forms of disarray today. How is it that the INEC itself, what does the law say about INEC precluding or excluding candidates from elections? Do they have the power to do that? Can PDP also approach the court? Is it a final decision that is not, that the court cannot intervene? Some of these are the things that a lot of us need to go and check and understand before we make further comments on it. I know that when you're supposed to have primaries, INEC is supposed to be an observer. Did the primaries happen? Did that happen? Was there a deadline for submission of candidates? Did PDP meet that deadline? Or is it an attempt to foster on Ekiti State a preferred candidate? We cannot take that off the table. So, after the swearing in 2023, one of my dearly beloved brothers wrote one sentence statement. I said, watch Nigeria become a one-party state. And it appears that that is happening now because of the way, like you said, now there's probably only 2 or 3 governors left in PDP and one in NNPP. Even the one in NNPP today, as I yesterday or 2 days ago, we're hearing, and then there's one in Labour Party, and there's one in APGA. So we have seen less than 10 of 36 now. So that tells us something about all these rumors that's flying around town, that this is a deliberate attempt to make Nigeria a one-party state. Is that healthy for our democracy? I don't think so. Why should it not be healthy? Why are people jumping around? Why can't you stay in one place based on your ideology? And I can tell you for free that this is not only a PDP problem. The moment power leaves the hands of another party too, this will also happen to them. And so it gives us the idea that everybody in politics in Nigeria today is probably just chasing the power, not necessarily because they have an ideological bias or anything. But we'll watch what is happening in Ekiti State. There's an election next year. It's an off-cycle election.
Correct.
And I think it's in February. Is it
February? I can't remember the date exactly, but it's sometime next year.
No, it can't be February. It's October. It should be October next year. So we'll watch what happens. We'll see how, if PDP goes to court, what the court has to say. But we still need to check all those things, what the electoral law says about things like this happening. It is not a good optics for us, as it were.
Right, right, right. Alrighty. Time to take messages as we begin to wrap up on the final freshly pressed of the year. This is from Tayo, who says it's only Nigeria that some people will work behind the scene to tamper with our tax law and nothing would happen to them. To probe is not the problem. It's the willpower to act on their finding that is the problem. Lakunle asked too much for Nigeria to properly investigate. It's Nigeria, not CSI smooth effect. And he says 10 states want to borrow, and after the respective state governors leave office, her citizens will pay dearly for it. PDP is giving Telemundo drama peddled by self-interest. All right. Who was talking to us here? This is from Joseph Mania in Silver Estates in Ejigbo, who says, if the presidency and gangs are hell-bent on the implementation of this doctored tax law, alleged, which is original copy agreed and signed, this is the height of desperation and impunity. How government is playing alpha and omega, not wanting to investigate the discrepancy, rather choose to force masses whether we like it or not. May God help us. Good morning, Ajayi Olonilowa from Magudu Jerry Sherry. He says the implementation of the new tax law has become controversial because of some alterations said to have been made on the original bill passed by the National Assembly. The most worrisome aspect of the law is the clause that now gives unlimited access to the bank accounts of citizens by a federal agency. They're not going to have unlimited access to our bank accounts. That's not going to happen. There's definitely need for the review of the law. All right. Joe, good morning to you, Joe. Thank you for always keeping it tuned. This is from Dr. I in CMS, who all right, happy new year in advance to you, Dr. I. Thank you for always keeping up with us throughout 2025. You are very much appreciated. Rexy in Surulere says, Abia State to borrow 40% of his budget. That's not only overambitious, it's impracticable. To think the governor was a banker, he should know better. All right, that's all that we can take this morning. That's all we can take this morning on the show. Thank you all for all your messages and your contributions as well. Always a pleasure. It's been a great, amazing 2025. You definitely have made it so much more colorful. You are very much appreciated. And of course, from the Smooth family to you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. And big thank you to Lakunle Yusuf and Devoe Okorie for making sure that 2025 was a fantastic year being on the show and giving their much, 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 much brilliant perspectives. Lakunle.
Thank you all for having me. It's been a wonderful 2025, despite all of this, our unionists, our medical practitioners, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the National Assembly, even our football. Super Eagles had um, 3 wins of the 3 games of the group stage. They won beat Uganda yesterday.
Right.
And I hope that they've given us a good, whatever, disappointment of not going to the World Cup. I hope that they will compensate us in the new year with the AFCON trophy coming to Lagos. Nigerians, let's have a very productive 2026. Let's pray, let's work harder, let's pray, and let's follow the money. Don't let us take our eyes off the ball. It is very critical in the next 4 years of our lives as Nigerians.
Very, very important. Thank you, Lakunle. Sir Devoe, take us home.
Well, see you in the new year, Nigeria. Don't eat too much. Make sure you drink plenty water. Remember, only those who are alive enjoy 2026.
Short and sweet. Exactly
Dr.
how it
Devoe.
is. Thank you so much, Devoe. It's been a great one. Lagos, thank you all once again for keeping up with us on Smooth 98.1. And don't forget, 8:15 today, it's a Wednesday. It's all about sports in the locker room. Tega is on the ground. We'll talk Super Eagles, Premier League football, and so much more. My name is Ayokunmi Kekiriekun. This is Smooth 98.1.